Hello, and welcome to Make a Difference, the show about how volunteers are making a difference every day right here in Montgomery County. I'm your host, Sandy Smith. The IRS officially opened the 2024 tax season on January 29th. As it seems, we're constantly under the possibility of a government shutdown. So some feel the sooner you file your taxes, the better. Our guest today is here to explain a free service open to Montgomery County residents to help with filing our tax returns. Mark Willen, site manager with TaxAid, is joining us today. Welcome to Make a Difference, Mark.
Hi, great to be here.
So let's start with exactly what is the TaxAid program?
Sure, this is a partnership that's run between the ARP Foundation, the IRS, and a group of volunteers. And in Montgomery County, as you know, the Volunteer Center kind of coordinates everything and helps us out to a great extent. We have about 150 volunteers working throughout Montgomery County. And basically, we offer free tax preparation um, to anyone who needs it.
Okay.
A lot of people make the mistake of thinking you have to be an ARP member, you have to be a certain age. That's not true. There's no age limit. There's no requirement that you belong to ARP. There are some types of returns we don't do, but the vast majority of them we're able to do. And we just want to help people who, I mean, the tax system we all know is incredibly complicated.
Yes.
And we try to help with some people just get overwhelmed with it, and we provide that service for them if they need it.
Or is it just specific to residents of Montgomery County or outside the county, or does each
It,
county have their own?
I mean, almost all of what we do is Montgomery County, but we
Yes.
we have a policy of kind of not turning people away, and occasionally, um, some other counties like Prince George's County doesn't have quite as many volunteers as they need, and if someone comes to our site, we don't turn them away just because they're not in our county, but we don't advertise to them or seek them.
Right. We want to keep it inter-county. Okay, so you mentioned a few of the requirements or qualifications. Are there any restrictions? Are there any tax preps that you can't do?
Yes, there are. And they don't come into play too much, but certain types of complicated returns, the Internal
Yeah.
Revenue Service and ARP have decided that it might be better if we don't deal with those. And they include, I mean, we will handle anybody who has wages, interest, dividends, capital gains. Retirement income certainly is a big thing because we do serve a great number of seniors. Um, but there are certain things we cannot do. For example, if somebody trades in cryptocurrency,
Oh, right.
we're not allowed to deal with that. If somebody owns rental property and does depreciation, we're not allowed to deal with that. We do handle people who are self-employed. We can
Mhm.
do most of those returns, but if they are in a situation where they are claiming a loss as opposed to a net income, we
Mhm.
cannot do those. If they take more than 35,000 in expenses, we can't do those. There is a list on the website that's very specific in terms of what we can handle and what we can't handle. But I would say I know at the sites that I work at, it's maybe 1% that we have to turn away because they're out of scope. And we try to filter those out ahead of time by asking the right questions.
Yes, yes. And actually, I just found out last year that there were no age requirements, or as well as income restrictions. So that is excellent information, and people should definitely go visit the website. What is the website, just so that people know?
The website is www.taxaidmc. That's aidemc.info. And that will tell
Okay.
you all about the program. And it will also, there is a page that tells you what we do and what we can't do. It will also allow you to make an appointment at one of our centers. You can either do it online or you can do it by calling the telephone number that's listed there.
And you mentioned the locations. You manage one of the locations. What exactly are your responsibilities, and what are some of the locations?
We have about 18 locations throughout the county. I think the busiest one is probably Gaithersburg. But we're at a great many community centers and libraries,
Mhm.
as well as some churches. And just to name a few, Damascus Library, the Davis Library, Germantown, Gaithersburg, the Long Branch Library, the Silver Spring Library, um, the Rockville Senior Center, the Ross Buddy Recreation Center in Olney, Twin Brook Library, the White Oak Community Recreation Center, and the new one of the new ones we have this year, which I will be managing, will be at the Wheaton Recreation Center, which is in the same building as the library. Um,
Do you need to make an appointment?
yeah, yes, we definitely need you to make an appointment because it's hard to handle it all. And you can either do it yourself on the website, or
Mhm.
you can do it by calling 240-777-2577. And that office is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. And I would urge people to make an appointment sooner rather than later because they do tend to fill up.
I can imagine. What are the dates? What are the beginning dates for tax aid to begin, and when is the last scheduled appointment that you can make? What's the date there?
Well, at Wheaton, we are actually one of the first to open on Monday is when we're beginning February 5th.
Mhm.
So we will be there. Our first appointment on that day is at 10 o'clock because we need to kind of get organized. Most days will be starting more like 9:15, and we will go all the way to April 15th. And
Oh,
each site has different days that it meets, and several sites will meet more than one day, including Saturdays, including some evening hours, although those are somewhat limited. Um,
okay. And so can people start calling today or right now to,
yes,
okay,
absolutely. The office opened last week. I know at Wheaton, we already have something like almost 100 appointments already.
wow.
We expect to, be able to take as many as 300. I also manage Leisure World. We have a couple of sites. Leisure World is one of them where you have to be a resident of that site. There are
Oh,
three, um, Leisure World, Riderwood, and Asbury Methodist. These are kind of
okay.
closed communities.
Yes. So let's get on to volunteers. Are you still looking for volunteers? I know it's late in the game because you've already started, but do you need
I'm,
anyone?
I'm afraid we are not looking for volunteers for this season.
Mhm.
We have about 150 volunteers. That includes counselors, it includes greeters, it includes schedulers, it includes um, that whole and people who make the appointments and whatnot. The, we have a fairly extensive training program, especially for those who want to be new tax counselors. And
Okay.
that starts like in mid-December and runs up until January 23rd. And all tax return preparers, all the counselors need to pass IRS tests to show that they have learned the material and that they're able to um, accurately prepare returns. So it's a pretty intense couple of weeks in January. Um, and we generally start looking for volunteers around September and October. I think the deadline is actually December 1st, but the earlier the better.
Can anyone volunteer, or do they need specific qualifications or skills?
They
Um,
don't, they
they don't have
don't
to be an
need,
ex-accountant, for example.
we will train people, and they,
Okay.
the important thing is that they need to get enough training so they can pass the fairly difficult tests.
Mm,
Um, I always tell people, a lot of people say, yeah, well, I'm not a CPA, I can't volunteer. You don't need to be a CPA. The software does all the math. You need to know something about tax law, which is a lot of what we teach. The most important qualifications are an attention to detail. You need to be comfortable using a computer. Um, and frankly, patience, because a lot of our clients, they come in, they're nervous. Um, some of them have never done this before. We see a lot of people who maybe their spouse passed away recently,
yeah.
and for the first time, it's fallen on them to do it. And the other qualification, which we we would love to have and really don't have enough of, is people who can speak a foreign language.
Right. Yes.
Spanish, Mandarin, some of the African languages, French. These are very, very valuable because some of our clients, a lot of the older clients will bring a child with them to kind of act as a translator. We
Hmm.
try where we can to have counselors who are fluent in the languages. So we're always, making a special emphasis to get those people on board.
And how long did you say the training usually takes place?
Well, it starts in December with an opening meeting and some reading and prerequisite assignments, but it gets intense. This year it was from January 8th to January 20th. And for those 2 weeks, it's pretty much a full-time job. And we like alternate between training sessions, some in person, some are on Zoom or Google Meet. And in
Okay.
between, there's a day to do the homework and practice.
What type of time commitment, once you've completed the training, what type of time commitment should volunteers expect during the actual tax return season? So how many hours a day, how many days a week? Are there set days that you're expected to appear? That type of schedule.
The minimum requirement is 40 hours over the tax period.
Okay.
Um, Most of our clients do significantly more than that. Generally speaking, um, a tax counselor or a greeter is assigned to a site and is expected to be there one day a week for what amounts to anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Some do 2 days a week and, work at different sites. Like I this year, for the first time, I'm doing 3 days a week, um, which is the most I've ever tried to do. I hope it works out okay. But it's really kind of up to you. But pretty much a minimum is one day a week. And we really ask that, I mean, we understand people get sick and, things
Yeah.
happen, you miss a day. Um, but we ask people not to schedule vacations or things like that during the tax season.
Wonderful. We've been speaking with Mark Willen from TaxAid. Thank you for joining us today, Mark.
My pleasure.
If you're interested in this or any other volunteer opportunities, please go to our website, montgomeryserves.org. I'm your host, Sandy Smith. Thank you for joining us today, and let's be sure to make a difference.